When we look at the world today, we find, as I said earlier, that it is a unique world. There's never been a dunya like this before. And the most puzzling thing about this dunya today, and I have to speed up a little bit now, is that there is an actor at work on the stage of the world. And he is an actor who seems to have come out of nowhere. We had great civilizations. Babylon was a great civilization. The Aztecs in Mexico, a great civilization. China, a great civilization. Where did this fellow come from? The Christian world, the Hindu world, the Buddhist world, the Muslim world, great civilizations came to the world. And then suddenly, out of nowhere, an actor appears. And he takes control of the world. Who is he? Is this happening by accident? He has a power that none can resist. He brings a scientific and technological revolution which, when applied to military science, gives him unprecedented power. No longer is he dependent on the wind for a ship to sail. No. He now has nuclear-powered ships. He doesn't travel by horses anymore. He has mechanical transport on land. He has motor cars. He has trains to take goods a long distance, which yesterday was camels. This fellow even travels in the sky. We never had it before. He has an aeroplane that flies in the sky. He doesn't need a sword anymore to fight. He can kill you from a distance. Huh? Strange. He has unprecedented power, military power. But unlike Zulkarnain, who had faith and who used power, Surah Al-Kahf? Huh? Surah Al-Kahf? You must shake your head a little bit. Surah Al-Kahf. Zulkarnain used power to punish the oppressor and to bring relief to the oppressed. And Zulkarnain used power to help those who have faith and who are righteous in conduct, and to reward them. But this fella is the opposite of Zulkarnain. This fella is essentially godless, essentially godless. And he uses his unprecedented power to oppress like no oppressor has ever been. And he uses his unprecedented power to target those who have faith and who are righteous in conduct. It doesn't matter whether you're a Christian or a Muslim or a Jew or a Hindu or a Buddhist. It doesn't matter. Once you want to be truthful, once you have integrity and you will stand up for the truth, once you are righteous in your conduct, this man is coming after you. Who is he? He comes and uses his power to oppress, and he wants to take control of the whole world. In Mr. Putin's beautiful expression, Vladimir Putin, the Russian president, he said about this man, he has imperial ambitions, which is very dignified language. He wants to rule the world. This fellow embarks upon an effort to rule the world, but we find him moving through 3 stages, and I gave this lecture right here in this surah just before Ramadan. And Allah spoke about it in the Quran in Suratul Mursalat. Allah says, Intaliku ila zillin dhi salathi shu'ab. Proceed now. The world now proceeds to a shadow which will manifest itself in 3 stages. In Akhirul Zaman. It was not possible for anyone to interpret this ayah until the world experienced Pax Britannica and then Pax Americana. You cannot explain Pax Britannica with any of the tools of political analysis. No. No. You cannot explain the passage from Pax Britannica to Pax Americana using the tools of normal political analysis. No. Not at all. The passage from Pax Britannica to Pax Americana and the role of the Bretton Woods Accord and the emergence of the International Monetary Fund, which meant goodbye to His Majesty the sterling pound. Goodbye to Britain. Goodbye to Pax Britannica. And now it's time to say goodbye to the US dollar. But if you are studying the subject from eschatology, you would know that Brexit means goodbye to the euro as well. That we are now located at a moment in time when the entire monetary system is collapsing. And the speed at which it is collapsing is frightening. I don't know the speed, but I have a friend, I don't want to reveal his name. He is a deputy governor in one of the central banks of the Muslim world. He might listen to this lecture, so let me be careful with my language. And my friend shared with me that the speed at which it is collapsing now is alarming. And tomorrow it's only gold and silver that will help you. Tomorrow it's only dinar and dirham that will help you. Because the whole thing is going to collapse. And Pax Americana will give way to Pax Judaica. How did we know this? How did we know this? This was in my book, Jerusalem in the Quran, which was written in the year 2000. 16 years ago I wrote that book in New York. Where did I get the knowledge from? That the US dollar is going to collapse, I've been saying this for 20 years or more now. This is eschatology. That you get the capacity to analyze events occurring in the world. Because you know that there is a fella, a mastermind at work, who wants to rule the whole world. And he gave us his first stage of his shadow that Allah spoke in the Quran with Pax Britannica. And the second stage of the shadow was Pax Americana. And we are saying that the third and last stage of the shadow is going to be Pax Judaica. When Israel will seek to replace the United States of America as the next ruling state in the world, and Israel is going to say, away with all of this godlessness. This fellow is not only godless, this fellow is also decadent. He is the one who says a man could marry another man and get a marriage certificate. You know who the fellow is? Modern Western civilization. So Pax Judaica is going to come to say, we want to sweep away all this godlessness and all this decadence. We want to turn away from all of this oppression and so on. We want to bring back the world, bring it back to religion, bring it back to the worship of the God of Abraham. Oh, it's going to be very, very, very interesting, tomorrow. If we are alive and this drama unfolds, as they say to the world, we must come back to religious values. This is Pax Judaica. But their oppression will be greatest of all, because they want to rule over everybody. And eventually a man will stand up in Jerusalem and declare, I am Al-Masih, the Messiah. But he would not be Al-Masih, the Messiah. He would be Dajjal, the false Messiah. In order for him to achieve his objective, a Pax Judaica, for Israel to rule the world, he has to make Israel very, very big, like the United States, but that's not possible. Israel cannot expand. Israel is surrounded by the Arabs. Forget it. Or the world has to become much smaller. Which one will it be? Which one will it be? Yes. The answer is the world will have to become much smaller. And that's why we're going to have nuclear war. They want the nuclear war. They know it. And they've already prepared for nuclear war with the underground bunkers and so on. So they will survive. In order to have the nuclear war, they got to provoke Russia. So Russia had to become a nuclear power. And that's why they transferred nuclear technology to the Soviet Union. Yes, so that the Soviet Union could become a nuclear power, so that tomorrow there could be nuclear war, so that the world will become small. Are you beginning to understand now what's happening in the world? Yeah. The next event that is about to occur from our eschatology is the Great War. Let me quote the hadith that the Turkish government is not comfortable with. And the Ottoman Empire wished that this hadith could be rubbed up and put away. Nobody read it. Nabi Muhammad alayhi salatu wassalam is talking to his companion Mu'az ibn Jabal radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. And they're sitting next to each other. His hand is on his shoulder, I think. And he said to him about the signs of Akhirul Zaman. The hadith is in the Sunan of Abi Dawood. And he says to him, Umranu Bayt al-Maqdis, when Jerusalem is center stage and flourishing, built up, Kharabu Yathrib, at that time, look to Medina and you see Medina in forlorn dissolution. No event in Medina, nothing. It plays absolutely no role whatsoever, even in Arab affairs. Kharabu Yathrib Khuruj al-Malhama. When that occurs, which is where we are now, then look for the Malhama. The Malhama is a great war. The Malhama is not just a great war. It's a war like no war has ever been. None. First time. What kind of war will it be? The Malhama. Hadith in Sahih Bukhari that 99 out of every 100 of the combatants will die, will be killed. 99% will be killed and only 1% will survive. I hope NATO is listening. If you're in the US Armed Forces or if you're in the British Armed Forces, please stop and listen to this lecture, because your chiefs will not tell you this. When you attack Russia, listen, 99 out of every 100 will be killed. This does not happen in conventional warfare. No. The only way that 99 out of every 1,000 can be killed is if it's a war with weapons of mass destruction. Among the weapons of mass destruction that we know of are nuclear weapons and thermonuclear weapons, but there could be others that we don't know about. So don't send me any emails on the subject, please. Thermonuclear weapons, weapons of mass destruction is enough. That's what is in the hadith. And each one will say, I will be the one who would survive, meaning they're going to enter into this war not knowing whether they're going to win or not. There'll be uncertainty when they enter into this war. My opinion, and when I give an opinion, of course, never accept it unless you're convinced that it is correct. My opinion is that the NATO is preparing for war with Russia. And I'm not the only one who holds that view. There are many others. And the war is around the corner. And once that war takes place, it is inevitable that it would eventually become nuclear war. We don't know whether it will start as nuclear war or whether it will be a conventional war which will eventually become nuclear war. We don't know. I'm not a prophet. I don't have an angel speaking to me, no. We know that the war is going to come soon, because the longer they wait to attack Russia, the stronger Russia becomes. And the nice thing, the wonderful thing that makes our hearts so warm is that Russia is not afraid of them. If Russia is standing up against the oppressor, then why can't you see that you should support the one who is standing up against the oppressor? Why are you continuously blind? What can I do to wake you up? Russia knows that nuclear war will destroy Russia. They know that. But the Orthodox Christian Russian people are not afraid of death. No. No one is saying to Putin, be careful, we don't want nuclear war. No, the Russians are not doing that. If an Orthodox Christian is not afraid of death, why should a Muslim be afraid of death? If an Orthodox Christian is setting the example of courage in standing up to the greatest oppressor that the world has ever known, why can't a Muslim be the same? What's wrong with the world of Islam? Why have we lost our courage? We should not be afraid to die. A Muslim is not afraid to die. And tonight, from Surah Al-Amin, we say to NATO, even if millions of us have to die, we don't mind. We want the oppressor to bite the dust. Before we end, Islamic eschatology not only explains these events unfolding, like the collapse of the monetary system that's coming around the corner. When your paper money can be used, as wallpaper. And the only money that there'll be in the world will be electronic money, digital money. So you don't need any money changes anymore. There's only one money for the whole world. It's invisible money, it's intangible money. You can't take it out of your bank account. And if they don't like you, guess what they'll do to your account? They'll freeze it. Yeah, you have no money. And then you come to me to complain? No, no. If you're sensible, you do like the Naqshbandi, the Sufi order, the Naqshbandi. The Naqshbandi are telling their people to keep dinar and dirham. Sheikh Nazim, rahimahullah, who died a few years ago, he ordered all his followers to keep dinar and dirham. Very sensible. Very sensible. The Naqshbandi, I am told, are going into the countryside and farming, organic farming. Very sensible. Very sensible. I have to pause now because I get lots and lots of emails. I get them from Belgium, I get them from France, I get them from Britain, I get them from the United States, I get them from Algeria, I get them from Morocco, all over. Sheikh, where is the Muslim village? We want to come and join the Muslim village. We want to leave this godless world and come and live in the Muslim village. Well, the answer is, well, my students in different parts of the world, they buy land and they put animals on the land and they're doing some farming, but none has built the villages yet. But let me tell you the story of one of my students. He's Malaysian, and he's the only one to have done it so far. He sold his house in KL. He gave up his job, which had riba. He looked on the internet and he found land, which was cheap. And he bought 1 acre, cheap. And he went and built his house. He didn't get a contractor, no, he bought the material and he employed the men and built the house. He planted rice. He planted date palms, different kinds of date palms. He planted fruit trees. His 1 acre has now become 6 acres. He has goats. He has chicken. He has ducks. He has horses on his land. It's only about an hour and a half out of KL. But to get to this land, there was a road where only a motorcycle could go. That's why it was so cheap. And he built it up. So now a motor car can go. And I went 2 weekends ago to this brother, with a wife and me, mashallah, mashallah, mashallah. He could not have done it if he didn't have the support of his wife. His wife has been at his side supporting him, yes, mashallah. And they're a young couple with a son about 5 or 6 and a daughter about 2 or 3, that's it. And only a few villagers living around there, some distance away, small kampung. But a beautiful spot where he is. And when you go there, you don't want to go back to KL. So why don't you do that? Instead of sending emails to me from France and Britain, Sheikh, the Muslim village, why don't you do what this brother has done? Sell your house in London. Yes, sell your house in London. Give up your job, make hijrah. Go look for the countryside where land is cheap. The land on which he's planting his rice, he bought for 10,000 rupees, 10,000 ringgits an acre. It was swamp land, he had to fill it up for 10,000. So that's what you can do in preparation for nuclear war. You have to stock up on food, you have to stock up on water, you have to stock up on energy. He has a well, a tube well. He's going to use solar energy to bring the water up. But in addition, he's sensible, he has a hand pump. So if the solar energy doesn't work and there's no electricity, he can still get water using a hand pump. Huh? This is how you prepare for nuclear war, by getting out of the city. Getting out of the city, because the cities are going to be anarchy when nuclear war takes place, because there will be no food and no water and no gasoline for your motor car, no transport. Instead of seeking to run away from death, you must have it in your heart. No, I continue the mission of Islam. I'm not running away from death. Allah gives life and Allah takes life. But I have a duty to try to protect my family as best as I can, and that's why I'm moving to the remote countryside. Before I end, not only does Islamic eschatology explain the events which are unfolding in the world, like nuclear war, like the collapse of money and so on. One world government ruling you from all over, only one world government. Islamic eschatology also tells you what's coming tomorrow. And the most important event to come after the Great War, he said, sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa sallam, he said, khurujul malhama. Who is he speaking to? Mu'az ibn Jabal. Hadith in Sunan of Abi Dawood. He said, khurujul malhama, Fathul Constantinia. That the next event to occur after the Great War or the Malhama would be the conquest of Constantinople. That is why they changed the name to Istanbul. Not only did these wicked people wicked people with a capital W, not only did these wicked people change the name from Constantinople to Istanbul to hide the subject, they did more than that. They prohibited the use of the name Constantinople. It's against the law. So tell Mustafa Kamal to get lost. And all those who honor him and respect him to tell him, get lost. Because if Nabi Muhammad alayhi salam used the name Constantinople, then it is Sunnah. And you cannot prohibit a Sunnah. You must be crazy. The conquest of Constantinople takes place after the Malhama. So it's a lie that they told 600 years ago, the Ottomans, that the Ottoman conquest of Constantinople in 1453 fulfilled the prophecy of Nabi Muhammad alayhi salam. That's a lie. The Malhama has not taken place as yet, Sultan Muhammad Fateh. Why are you lying like this? Yeah, you're a liar. They honor you, they honor you in Turkey, and we say you're a liar. Because the conquest of Constantinople, prophesied by Nabi Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam, is still to come. I know it's going to give headaches to NATO. I know NATO is scared now when they listen to lectures like these. Because this is Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam speaking. This is not Nawaz Sharif speaking. It's Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam speaking. What happens after the Malhama? What do we do? Those of us who die are the lucky ones. I hope and I pray that I am one of the lucky ones. We die. Even if you die before the Malhama, you are lucky. This is a nice time to die. This is a good time to leave the world. After the Malhama is going to be a terrible world. Those who survive the Malhama, I don't know how you're going to live. No sunlight. For I don't know how many days, no sunlight. But this is the message that we give from Islamic eschatology. And may Allah take these words of mine all over the world. that if you live to see the Malhama, and if you survive the Malhama, then Imran is saying to you, on the basis of the prophecy of Nabi Muhammad sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa sallam, if you are young enough and strong enough to fight, then make some preparations for your family and head for Constantinople. Wherever in the world you may be, give up everything else. Leave Indonesia. Leave Malaysia. No government can stand in your way. The followers of Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam, all over the world, as soon as the Malhama takes place, are going to head for Constantinople. Because he said, sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa sallam, لَتَفْتَحَنَّ الْقُنْسْتَنْتِنِيَّةِ, you will most certainly conquer Constantinople. وَلَنِعْمَ الْأَمِيرُ آمِرُهَا, what a wonderful commander will that be, of that army. وَلَنِعْمَ الْجَيْشُ ذَلِكَ الْجَيْشَ, and what a wonderful army that would be, that will conquer Constantinople. But there are, both in the Quran and in the Hadith, indications that we will conquer Constantinople on the basis of an alliance with Orthodox Christians. It will be a Muslim-Christian army that will conquer Constantinople. Which Christians will this be? Does Allah speak about Christians in the Quran with whom we could have such a relationship? Shall I remind you? Yes. It's there in the Quran, but we don't take time to study the Quran. No, we have too much time in the traffic in KL to study the Quran. وَلَتَجِدَنَّ أَقْرَبَهُمْ مَوَدَّةً لِلَّذِينَ آمَنُوا الَّذِينَ قَالُوا إِنَّا نَصَارَى. And you will most certainly find in time to come that those who will be closest in love and affection for you would be a people who proclaim, we are Christians. That couldn't be British and American and French Christians, because they hide their religious identity. They secularize their religion. It has to be a different kind of Christian who proclaims my identity. I am Christian. It can only be the Orthodox Christian. That's not all. ذَلِكَ بِأَنَّ مِنْهُمْ كِسِّسِينَ. You know these Christians because they still have the ulama. The institution of the ulama is intact, and the ulama have a status in society. In that Christianity out there where a man could marry another man and get a marriage certificate, the priest is a laughing stock of the world. In this Christianity out here, Orthodox Christianity, the ulama or the priest still have a status, high status. ذَلِكَ بِأَنَّ مِنْهُمْ كِسِّسِينَ وَرُهْبَانًا. There will be another way you can recognize these Christians. What is it? They still have monasticism. In Britain and in France and in the United States and Canada, the monastery is now McDonald's hamburgers, or Kentucky Fried, or Pizza Hut. There are no more monasteries. The monastic way of life is gone. But in this part of the Christian world, the monastery is still there. The monk still has an important place. The monastic way of life is still treasured, which is why Kosovo is such a difficult problem. Because Kosovo is the heart of the monastic life of the Orthodox Christian. And the Ottomans knew that. And Bill Clinton knew that very well at Daytona. Oh yes, he knew it. They're devils. So this is the Christian who will be the closest in love and affection for you. But one more thing by which you can recognize this Christian with whom you will make an alliance. وَأَنَّهُمْ لَا يَسْتَكْبِرُونَ. They're not an arrogant people. The British, the French, the American, the German, the Canadian, they want to rule the world. They want us to all become carbon copies of themselves. So if you serve me curry fish and rice, and I roll up my sleeve and I wash my hands, and like a good Malay, I eat with my hand, my fingers. That's the only way you could eat curry fish and rice. Huh? They say, what a barbarian he is. This is uncivilized. You should eat the way we eat, with cutlery. Yeah, curry fish and rice with cutlery. You must dress the way we dress. Take off that dirty beard from off your face. A civilized man is clean shaven. A civilized man wears a shirt and trousers and jacket and tie. I say that's arrogance. And there are many who say the same thing as that. That's arrogance. I went to Russia, and when I went to Russia, I saw lots of beards. Oh yes, lots of beards in Russia. These are not an arrogant people. They don't want to rule the world. They don't want to transform all of mankind into carbon copies of themselves. وَلَن تَرْضَى عَنْكَ الْيَهُودَ وَلَا النَّصَارَ حَتَّى تَتَّبِعَ مِلَّتَهُمْ. No, that's those Christians. These Christians are different. So Allah is telling you as plain as a billboard on the road to the airport. These are the Christians who in Akhirul Zaman will be closest in love and affection for you. And you have to build alliances. He says that. He says, Al-kafiruna ba'aduhum awliya'u ba'd. The kuffar are constantly building alliances amongst themselves. Shall I repeat it? Al-kafiruna awliya ba'aduhum awliya'u ba'd. The kuffar are constantly building alliances amongst themselves. Illam tafa'alu, if you do not do the same, if you do not reach out to build alliances with the non-Muslim people who are closest in love and affection for you, illam tafa'aluhu takun fitnatun fil ardi wa fasadun kabir. If you do not do that, there will be fitna and great fasad in the world. Is it not time for us to listen to Allah? Is it not time for us to listen to the Quran? Is it not time for us to turn to the Quran, that the Quran will help us to prepare for the events which are still to come, in which the conquest of Constantinople is the most important of all? The hadith then ends, Fathul Constantiniya Khuruj ad-Dajjal. Which hadith? The one with Mu'az ibn Jabal, quoted in the Sunan of Abi Dawood. Yeah. The end of the hadith, Fathul Constantiniya Khuruj ad-Dajjal. That after the conquest of Constantinople, only then will Dajjal make his appearance in human form. Prior to this, Dajjal is already in the world, but you can't see him. But he waits until the conquest of Constantinople to make his appearance. Why? Because now it's there around the neck of Israel. Israel can't get away now. Finish. Dajjal took them for a ride. It's the last ride on which they'll ever go. And now they'll face the end that Fir'aun faced when he was drowning. They will end the same way that Fir'aun ended. That at the end, when they're being destroyed, defeated, and the rocks and the stones will speak and say, Muslim, there's a Jew hiding behind me, come and kill him. That's the end of Israel. They will now realize the truth that Fir'aun realized underneath the water. And they will die accepting that truth, as Fir'aun died accepting the truth and knowing you're going into the hellfire. And that's why Allah preserved the body of Fir'aun. The body was discovered when? In 1898, just after the Zionist movement was established. The sign for the world that the events which will now unfold in the world would be a repeat. The world, history will repeat itself. That the epic encounter between truth and falsehood between Fir'aun and Musa will now be reenacted in the historical process. And history will end the way it ended, underneath the water. This is Islamic eschatology. And I pray that Allah may bless all those who now in their hearts get a fire. I want to study this subject. It's more important to me than a PhD in business management. I want to study this subject. I want that Allah should help me, that I get the knowledge with which to be able to understand the reality of the world today, using the Quran and using the hadith of Nabi Muhammad sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa sallam. رَبَّنَا تَقَبَّلْ مِنَّا إِنَّكَ أَنْتَ السَّمِيعُ الْعَلِيمُ وَتُبْ عَلَيْنَا يَا مَوْلَانَا إِنَّكَ أَنْتَ التَّوَّابُ الرَّحِيمُ بِرَحْمَتِكَ يَا أَرْحَمَ الرَّاحِمِينَ آمين.